Dr. Kurt Maselli is the director of medicine at Do No Harm. We've got a DOE complaint against UConn because apparently they're racist. Hi, Kurt.
Hi, Paul. Good
How
to be with you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So what's UConn doing now? They're always doing something stupid.
There's always something going on, but
Yeah.
this time it's a visiting externship, and it's for students underrepresented in medicine. And, these are fourth-year rotations for medical students, and medical students in their fourth year are looking to apply to residency programs. And many of these programs are coveted positions in dermatology, orthopedic surgery, and the like. And oftentimes students will apply to these externships so they can almost audition. They can get some experience with faculty and such and perhaps improve their chances of getting into that residency program. But here what UConn's done is they've really limited the pool of people to those underrepresented in medicine and made it really difficult for whites or Asians to participate in such a program. And they've unfortunately put identity politics above merit, excellence, and skill. And it really goes to diminishing the quality of the program and places a real de-emphasis on making sure that the focus is on qualified applicants, not folks based on the color of their skin.
I don't want a doctor who's not as good as somebody else because they're brown or olive or whatever the case may be. And quite frankly, I kind of want a girl, but I don't want girls to get preferential treatment either when it comes to going to a doctor. No offense to you, but sometimes I have girl questions I feel only comfortable asking a girl. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
I don't care what color she is, but I want her to be qualified.
And I think that's what so many people want, right? We want the very best from our physicians, from those who are taking care of us, they're taking care of our families. And certainly, the other end of this is those who are underrepresented in medicine and are qualified, how people might be looking at them when they should be looked at for their merit and their excellence. And so, it's just so important all around that quality is what's driving the outcome. And unfortunately, in many of these programs throughout the country, we see medical schools really taking a different tack and more so social engineering as opposed to focusing on producing good quality physicians.
Okay. So UConn is doing this and the lawsuit, or is there a lawsuit or is it just a complaint?
Yes, this is an Office for Civil Rights complaint with the Department of Education, and so that would, we aim to have an investigation that the Department of Education would do to see what's exactly going on, and then to see what that the outcome may be. And there certainly are consequences to UConn, depending on what the Department of Education finds, and withholding federal funds and that sort of thing, if the complaint isn't rectified. And certainly what we've seen in the past with other complaints that we filed in similar type cases, oftentimes the university will change its course and will open such programs up to the full pool of applicants. So again, that quality and merit can really shine forth.
I don't understand why in 2025, almost 2026, we're still talking about race in this country. Does that seem weird to you, or am I the only one?
We've come a long way in this country in terms of who we are as a people and where we are. And I think it is unfortunate that we're still having the conversation when we should be focused on how do we improve the lives of the individuals that we serve? How do we make psychiatric care, surgical care, whatever it might be, different disciplines of medicine, how do we make these things better for all people? And unfortunately, we seem to still be spinning our wheels in many sense. And no doubt, the past 5 years had seen a resurgence in this, and post-COVID pandemic, and certainly the death of George Floyd. But I think we're seeing a turn in a different direction where folks recognize that the focus does need to be on excellence and merit. When you go to the ER, when you're in the OR, you want the very best and brightest before you. And I think the country has also realized that there's very much a divisive nature to what DEI has done. And unfortunately, it's also diminished merit on all counts. I mean, we even look at medical education, and we see the fact that the first part of the medical license exam, step one, which you take typically after your second year of medical school, is pass-fail. It used to be a score that you got, and you could actually see the difference in those who excelled and those who didn't. And now you just sort of see pass-fail. And it makes it harder and harder for residency programs for folks to really distinguish between who's really excellent and should be the next neurosurgeon, as opposed to, well, who passed and who failed. And unfortunately, medical schools are doing the same in their grading of preclinical years and even clinical years, where the system of grading is, again, pass-fail. And it just makes it harder and harder, and we seem to be striving to the minimum instead of striving to the maximum. And that impacts all physicians, right, no matter what color, creed, whoever you are. And so I think there's a real call that as we turn the corner and as we look to look past race and immutable characteristics, and we look to the excellence, we've got to reform some things, and we need to start turning some things around so we do have excellence as the focus and the driver for medical care.
You know, it confuses me how the Asians got involved in this. I mean, racism is racism. If you base something on the color of somebody's skin, I hate to break it to you, but minorities can be racist as well. If you hate someone based on the color of their skin, or if you exclude them, that is in effect the definition of racism. So how did the Asians get stuck in this?
You know, and that's where I think this definition of underrepresented in medicine becomes, where this idea that if you are, quote unquote, overrepresented based on, the population, so Asians as a percentage of the population, or any group as a percentage of the population, if you are overrepresented, you are in that one class, and if you're underrepresented, you're in another. And again, this is just a product of DEI, where we put people within groups and then we pit them against each other, and that is so un-American. We need to be a society that really looks, again, to equality before the law, the fact that we are in this wonderful country where folks have tremendous opportunity, and we should look to those aspects instead of putting people in groups and dividing them based on what percentage or how they are a reflection of the population. We need to look at people as individuals, and I think when we focus on that individuality, whether it's in the application process of medical students going to residency, or whether it's in patient care, no matter what it is, each and every one of us wants to be treated as that individual. And I think that's such a fundamental aspect of America, and what has made this country absolutely amazing and great is that we treat the individual as such, and we don't allow other characteristics to blur that. We focus on who they are, what they can do, how they act, and I think that's, again, where we want to drive towards with medical education as well, focusing on the individual.
I agree, and I think it's kind of a slap in the face, DEI, at this point, where it's like, you can't do it yourself, so we're going to prop you up. I mean, Dr. Ben Carson's mom whooped his butt unless he did everything he was supposed to do while she was working. He had to read books. He had to do everything on his own. He's brilliant. And
absolutely.
And oh my gosh, he's black, in case nobody noticed. But we have to stop catering to people and acting like they're not capable of something. To me, that's an insult.
It really can be, and I think it also loses the fact that we have agency, we have control over our lives, and we have destiny, and we have the free will and the ability to be something great and fantastic, to do the things that Ben Carson did. I mean, again, it's an incredible story, and that's the story of America. And I think we need to retain that agency and that control. Otherwise, if we're subject to whatever class we're born into, that's the model of the old world. That's the world that we left when we set upon our revolution to start the United States.
Mm-hmm.
We became this country that was focused on the ability of the individual. So absolutely, we really need to restore that agency and the importance of it.
Well, and I want to toss this into the fish barrel here, too. What UConn is doing is just stupid. It's got to stop. So I'm pretty sure that this is going to hold up, and they're going to have to stop there. All DEI needs to stop across the board, whether it's because of your sexuality or the color of your skin. I don't care if you're represented or not, earn it or sit down. But medical malpractice insurance is extremely expensive. And if you're not the best of the best of the best, which is kind of out of ID4, or Men in Black, but if you're not that person and you get the residency or you move into a role and you make a mistake, do we go back to UConn then and say you didn't train them right, or you shouldn't have let them in because they were less qualified? Or, I mean, how does that affect the malpractice part of this?
It's all a factor of consideration, and it's important. Again, I don't think anyone wants to hurt anybody or anything of the sort, but we can't have systems that unfortunately allow mediocrity to move forward. We have to have systems, especially, again, when it comes to life and death situations. We need systems that ensure that the best are there, and even amongst the best. Unfortunately, difficult situations, difficult clinical encounters occur. But I think we want to know that we've got the most experienced, the wisest, the best trained person who is literally has our life in their hands, and it is such an absolutely critical factor.
It is, and do no harm means exactly what it says. You are the group called Do No Harm because you don't want people who are less qualified or aren't the best of the best to be the ones who are getting the opportunities. You want the people who can do the best job. So Do No Harm means exactly what it says.
That's absolutely right. And one of our main focuses is removing this idea of identity politics out of medicine, because unfortunately so much of medicine has gone into this idea of the social justice movement of really removing the understanding of physiology and pharmacology and replacing it with lectures on climate change or colonialism, and that's just foolish. I mean, there's so much to learn in medicine. We're constantly learning new things each and every day. We need that curriculum to be science-based, to help students really, again, be their best when they graduate, and they are in that capacity as physician. And so as our organization, Do No Harm, we take that very seriously, and we want quality to reign the day in medicine and nothing else.
I agree. And you know what? Electronics change and technology changes so fast that by the time you graduate, you should almost have to start over because everything's different. But the human body is pretty much a paradigm. I mean, it's not going to change. And so I want somebody, if they're going to be going in to set my grandson's ankle, or if he breaks it, or to help him with a concussion or whatever, kids, I want the best. I want somebody who I know is going to take great care of him. Luckily, I have that. But the fact that they called this a pipeline for students of color is, I don't know. My brain went to Underground Railroad. I don't know why it went there, because they called it a pipeline. And I'm like, they're trying to filter them in secretly or undercover or what?
That's a phrase you see in many of these programs as quote-unquote pipeline programs. And I think it's really...
It's kind of racist.
And it's really too much. And I think the really key is, again, we should have programs that are pipelines for excellence. I mean, that's really what we need, and to move past this idea of looking at people based on the color of their skin, their immutable characteristics. So, but it is language that you do see in many of these programs, and perhaps it's thought to be like we're doing a good thing and that sort of thing. But I think the reality is we have seen the harms from DEI for what it's done, and how it has lowered our standards as opposed to raising our standards.
Okay, so on the application, the kids have to explain, or students, young people, whatever, have to explain how their background as underrepresented in medicine makes them competitive for the externship. So that's just upsetting, Well,
and not only that, also how they'll promote diversity efforts at UConn. And it makes you wonder, well, what's the purpose of the rotation in dermatology or orthopedic surgery or internal medicine? Is the purpose to learn the skill of the trade and to build that knowledge, or is the purpose to be promoting diversity efforts? And where does that fall, and what does that mean? And I mean, the application even goes as far as asking for a photograph of the person, which again, where's the focus on the qualifications? And there's a desire for grades and that sort of thing, but this is something that we also see in even the medical school application, the standardized application that's there, that, yes, it does ask for grades still, but, man, it has 20 pages of other things it's asking for as well, and many of those are geared towards social engineering, and it almost seems like the merit gets drowned out by everything else around it.
Well, what if you're light-skinned and you're black? I mean, does that take away some points? I mean, what's the scale of blackness here? Because I have black grandchildren, so are they black enough? Or is it the one-drop rule? I mean, where do we draw the line here at who qualifies if we're going to do it this way?
Another reason to focus on the individual as the individual,
exactly.
and to look at the merit of who they are and what they're capable of, and what they really bring to the table. Again, in terms of doing neurosurgery or doing those different practices in medicine.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. Well, I hope they get their butts kicked and this goes away, because Do No Harm does such a great job in calling out these entities. And has UConn stopped, or are they still doing it?
Yeah, so, well, we filed a complaint, so, the investigation should be underway. It looked like the application was still active on the website when I was checking this morning. So there's, some work to be done, but we'll continue to do this work, and I certainly would welcome your listeners if they have, obviously a concern about the influence of identity politics in medicine to please join us. We appreciate we have 30,000 members now, and we certainly look to concerned citizens, healthcare providers, whoever it may be, to join us at donoharmmedicine.org.
And please do it, because if ever there was a person or a time when you want the right person for the job, it's in medicine, for crying out loud. I can't think of anywhere. Medicine and somebody who's working on my car. I want you to be the best. All right. His name's Dr. Kurt Maselli. He's Director of Medicine at Do No Harm. The DOE complaint has been filed against UConn for the racist program. Hopefully, it'll get shut down. We'll keep looking to see if that app is still there. Thank you, Kurt.
Appreciate it, Fawn. Thank you so much.
You bet. Bye.